Good afternoon, Bear Nation. Welcome to National Signing Day 2021. I'm Athletic Director Brad Teague, and I'm coming to you today live from the Sports Hall of Fame room in Estes Stadium on this beautiful campus. I tell you, this year is just like it seems every other year. We have a great recruiting class that I know Coach Brown is excited to tell everybody about. And every year, we bring in great young men to this program. I want to give a special thanks and acknowledgement to our coaching staff and our support staff for all the time and effort they have put in to bringing these great young men to our campus. We thank them so much. First Security Bank is a great sponsor for UCA athletics. We are so proud to have them as a part of our program, and every year they sponsor National Signing Day for us. And we're proud to have Johnny Adams with us today, the president of First Security Bank Conway. Johnny, thank you.
Thank you so much. First Security Bank is honored to be the sponsor of National Signing Day for the University of Central Arkansas Bears. We're so proud of this program and the university and what it brings to Conway. We're really excited today. Not only does it bring these players to the team here at UCA, but it also brings them to our great city of Conway. And we're hoping that you find Conway to be just as exciting as we do and be glad to be a part of our community. At the bank, we're here to help. We've been voted Faulkner County's best bank for 13 years in a row, and we're proud of that with our great staff, and proud to always support the UCA Bears. It's my privilege at this time to introduce the head coach of the UCA Bears, Nathan Brown. Nathan?
Well, first of all, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, First Security, for sponsoring this great event. A little unorthodox this year. Used to being in UCA downtown and being with a lot of you live and in person, and sure miss seeing those many faces and the opportunity to speak and brag on these student athletes that we're about to bring into our program. But very excited that First Security is making this happen with our athletic department to come to y'all live virtually, whether it's at your home, your office, to your phone, wherever you're at. We're just thankful for this opportunity so we can brag about these young men that are entering our program this year, and obviously talk a little bit about the future of what our program holds, and such an exciting time to be a part of the UCA family. First of all, I have a few thank yous to give out through this process. It's been, as Dr. Teague mentioned, a very unorthodox year with COVID-19. Not your normal recruiting year. A lot of years we're out on the road anywhere from 20, 25, 30 nights a year, in high schools and doing home visits with student athletes and their families, hosting unofficial and official visits for prospects and their families, hosting camps. None of that was available to us this year. So it wasn't just a UCA problem. This is an NCAA problem, or I say problem or issue that COVID-19 has caused. So we've had to adjust on the fly. And by making that happen, I want to give a special thank you to Coach Gunnar Boykin, our recruiting coordinator. He's also our offensive line coach. He did a great job organizing our plan because it was different. It was a situation where we weren't able to get families on campus. We weren't able to go see families in their homes. So we had to be creative in showing what Central Arkansas football is about, and everything from videos to highlights to virtual tours, to spending a lot of time on Zoom calls and FaceTime and doing things at night up here at the stadium, just trying to give these young men an authentic experience on learning what our program is about. So a special thank you to Coach Boykin. Also want to thank our staff. Unbelievable job by our coaching staff and support staff and student assistants and GAs and everybody involved in our program. I could go through them individually. I could probably talk about them for a half an hour, just how impressed I was with their efforts, developing authentic relationships in a tough, unorthodox manner that we were handed to this year. But they did a great job. Also want to thank their families, their wives, their kids. We spent a lot of nights up here. We would get takeout food up here at the stadium. We would eat up here as a coaching staff and jump on calls as a group with prospects and just try to give them an authentic experience and show them what we're about and show them that we care about them and we want to show them the total experience, even though in a crazy year they're not able to come see it in person. Special thank you to Dr. Teague, who obviously you guys heard from. He was involved in some of the video, just introducing UCA athletics, what we're about. President Houston Davis, obviously at the top, he sets the tempo and tone for this university. We feed off of his energy as an athletic department and as a football program. He was involved in our videos as well. Also want to thank Mackenzie McGuire and Edwin Hooper for their efforts. We wouldn't be able to do this with them collaborating and cooperating with Coach Boykin and making this happen through this process. Also, a special thank you to Ryan Lajeunesse. He's a peer coach and chaplain for us. He was involved in the video making. Also, our motivational coach, Jordan Montgomery. He resides in Iowa City, Iowa, but very heavily involved in this process with our recruits and obviously the video making. Dave Strickland, our athletic trainer, head athletic trainer, and Alex Fodio, our head strength coach, were heavily involved in the process as well. So just want to thank all those. That's very limited amount of names, but again, it takes so much to make this day happen. This day is like Christmas Day to us as coaches. It's an opportunity to bring the next crop of what we hope is championship UCA football Bears, and that's an exciting time to be a part of. So again, very excited about this class. We signed 21 student athletes in this class. If you look up and down this signing class, we marked a lot of needs that we had in areas that maybe we had some graduation in. We signed a quarterback. We signed 2 running backs. We signed a couple offensive linemen, several tight ends on the offensive side of the ball. We also added a good number of wide receivers. But in those wide receivers, we also have some wide receiver hybrid bodies that maybe could develop into a tight end. We've got a couple of wide receivers that possibly could come in and project as a defensive back as well. So very athletic in that room with Coach Howard, heading the charge in that room. On the defensive side, a couple defensive ends. Need to get pass rushers here. We met that need really fast with these 2 young men, which I'll talk about in a minute. A defensive tackle, a linebacker, and a couple secondary guys. So just hit all parts of our roster that we needed. We still have several spots available along the way that we're going to keep in our back pocket. That may be something that a lot of you are wondering with the way the environment is with transfers and the way that the transfer portal's happening, that's in the back of our mind as well. And the opportunity, if it arises, we will have the ability to maybe bring in a couple more names whenever this is all said and done. So just super excited about this group of young men. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of athleticism. You're going to see a lot of just great football players from winning programs. I've got 2 or 3 players that are 2 and 3 time state champions on their football team, and we talk about culture here constantly. And when you talk about culture, you want to get guys from winning programs, and that's what we were able to do in this class. You're also going to see length and size. I mean, you're looking at tackle bodies on the offensive line that are 6'6", 6'7", 300 pounds. You're looking at defensive tackle, 300-plus pounds. You're looking at some defensive ends that are really long and lengthy and can get around the edge. So we wanted to get bigger and longer in the secondary. So you'll see a lot of that in this as well. Also trending is the ASUN movement in our conference, and that was important through this process. As we continue to recruit this class was recruited for the ASUN conference. They knew we were making the transition and change. They're excited about it, as is our current team. And a lot of these guys are, as we push more southeast in our recruiting footprint, are excited now to maybe be playing a little closer to home in some road games, and then obviously having a full slate of home schedule. So we're very excited about the ASUN movement, along with all these young men that we were able to sign and put on the board today. So that being said, at the end of this, I would love for you to throw in questions. We will get those answered. As the Facebook Live goes on, I would love for any questions that maybe come up, whether it's about a prospect or whether it's about our team in general. Feel free to type those in. Again, we're live, and this is all very fan friendly. We want to make sure that you feel that way, but at the same time, we want to also try to get through here and show off this group of guys we were able to sign and put the best mark forward. So when this is all said and done, I would love to answer some questions. So throw your questions in as you feel pleased. With that being said, I'm excited now to introduce Dalton Brown. Dalton Brown is going to be the first prospect we talk about. He's an offensive tackle from Nashville, Arkansas. Again, a big young man and a kid that we have been on since his junior year, and a kid that we think we can build around for the future of our offensive line room. Here's some video on Dalton Brown.
Dalton Brown from Nashville, Arkansas is a young offensive lineman that's going to come in and probably slot in at tackle for us. Could play guard, but you can see very athletic with his feet. Also is very physical at the point of attack. Very well coached from that Nashville system there in South Arkansas. Love recruiting that area. Again, he's going to bring an edge to the offensive line room that we need, especially as a young player. He's one that is going to continue to grow and be a big kid. He's close to 300 pounds right now, around 6'4", so I think he can be the size we're looking for to take us to the next step.
Once again, what you can see in Dalton Brown is he's very physical, very athletic. We think he can play offensive tackle or offensive guard. Again, a super talented kid from South Arkansas. Love recruiting Nashville cultured athletes. Again, a lot of winning tradition from the Nashville Scrappers. Again, Dalton Brown's going to make us instantly better, have an edge about us. Great student in the classroom as well. He's going to help our culture in the offensive line room with Coach Boykin and that group of guys. The next guy I want to introduce is Miles Butler. Miles Butler is a wide receiver from the Montgomery, Alabama area. Again, Miles is a big receiver. You'll get to see some film on him right now.
Miles Butler from Montgomery, Alabama, another physically good-sized wide receiver in this signing class. 6'3", around 195, 200 pounds. Again, a kid with unbelievable ball skills, the ability to track the football in the air. You can see on this clip, a punt returner for Montgomery Catholic. Again, a very successful program there in the state of Alabama. Again, a big factor in this kid was again, getting the opportunity to play in the new conference in the A-Sun and playing games more toward his region of where he grew up. So that was a big factor, but he makes a lot of plays in the air. A kid that had 60-plus catches, over 1,000 yards receiving, 12, 13 touchdowns this year. But again, you see him getting the screen pass, not only catching the ball down the field, but also can take screen passes, has enough wiggle to get down the field. I think he's a very dynamic receiver. Also had offers on the defensive side of the ball from Indiana, South Alabama, and a lot of FCS stuff at wide receiver. So very excited about Miles.
Fans, you've gotten used to seeing unbelievable 50-50 ball catchers from our wide receivers. Miles Butler is going to bring that same type mentality to our wide receiver room. What a great young wide receiver to build around. Had multiple FCS offers at the wide receiver position. Had an offer from Indiana. Had an offer from Troy. Also to play defensive back. So you can see his athletic ability. You saw his return ability in that clip as well. So very excited about what Miles brings to the table. Again, pushing southeast, our recruiting footprint there in the capital city of Alabama. He's going to be a big-time addition to our program as we continue to push this A-Sun movement going forward. The next guy I want to talk about is defensive tackle from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Bradley Clark. Bradley Clark is a big, strong defensive tackle, has a lot of knockback. You'll see similarities to a lot of guys that we've had here on our defensive front. Coach Davis came to us with him and said, we've got to go sign this kid. We've got to find a way to get Bradley. So I'd love for you to watch some film on his highlights right now.
Bradley Clark is our high school defensive tackle signee. Big kid, 6'2", 310 pounds, played in a great system in Pine Bluff. You can see him in these clips have extreme athletic ability for that size. I mean, we're looking for guys that can run side to side, but also hold their gap. You can see his pad level, the way he uses his hands. You don't see that very often from a high school kid. He reminds me a lot of a young Javius Brown. When we recruited him out of the state of Mississippi, I think he could turn into that same type player for us on the interior defensive line. Just excited to get another in-state prospect. His upside is through the roof. I think he can be one of the more special defensive tackles we've signed in recent years. Again, a kid that's going to come in and add immediate depth to the position, and we should be able to work really well with what he has tool-wise.
As I mentioned before, Bradley Clark reminds me of Ajavius Brown, a young version of what Ajavius has turned into here. Again, comes from a great tradition-rich program in the Pine Bluff Zebras. Love that area of football. We recruit that area every year. Bradley's a kid that when we got on the phone to talk to coaches around the state, he was a name that kept popping out to us. Again, another in-state product to add to this, this rich in-state signing class this year. Bradley's going to have a bright future. I think he's a kid that's going to add immediate depth to the interior defensive line for us as we continue to push this thing forward. The next guy I want to talk about is tight end Kamari Clark, another in-state player. Again, a tight end hybrid body that can be very athletic. Had over 1,000 yards receiving this year from the tight end position. Here's some highlights on Connor right now.
Connor is a tight end from here in the state, Jonesboro High School, up in the northeast part of the state. Very excited about Connor. Again, just a very well-coached, pass-catching tight end. Has a lot of physicality, is what you're looking for. Again, you can see him running through tackles there. 6'3", 220-pound kid. Was a first-team All-State, first-team All-Super Team tight end. Had over 1,000 yards receiving from the position of tight end, and that's rare from that position. Again, that's a position that's hard to find, players that do that. Connor's a kid that can block. He can catch balls from the tight end position, out of the backfield. He's a kid that's going to make us better. We need to be more athletic at that position. We've got some older guys that we have to replace in the years to come, and Connor's going to do that immediately for us, and we're excited about what he brings to the table.
You're going to hear me talk about production a lot today. Connor is production from the tight end position. 70-plus catches, over 1,000 yards, first-team All-State, first-team AP Super Team in the state of Arkansas at all levels. Again, Connor's a kid that Coach Coleman out of Jonesboro High School said, we've got to get this kid. And so we went and got this kid. Coach Hollingsworth does a great job in our tight end room. We had to put an emphasis on the tight end position in this class. We feel like Connor is the body type that can play from our B-back position, more of a fullback position, but also in line from the tight end position and develop into a Luke Ross type body for us with maybe a little bit more athletic ability. Very excited about what Connor brings to the table. The next young man I want to introduce is Kamari Clark. He goes by KC. Again, a mid-year transfer corner that was from Southwest Community College in Mississippi. A young man that's long, lean, he can really run. Here's some highlights on KC.
Kamari Clark, or was what we call him KC, is a junior college corner that comes in immediately ready to play from Southwest Community College there in Mississippi. Again, you can see his speed from side to side, has great running ability. He's a longer corner at 6 foot. Again, a kid that was very productive, was an all-state player at the junior college level there in the state of Mississippi. We've had a lot of success with guys from there. We needed a guy to come in right away and compete with the loss of Robert Rochelle to the NFL, and we think Kamari can be that guy. Again, great ball skills, but also the ability to make tackles and play physical from that position of corner in our secondary.
Every year, you're going to see us have instant impact players from the junior college system in Mississippi. KC won't be any different. Have to replace some good cornerback play here. He's a kid we feel like we can put on an island, maybe shut down half the field. Had a lot of success at the junior college level. An honor roll student at the junior college level, graduated with an associate with over a 3.7 GPA. Very smart young man, very driven, very focused. Already enrolled, so he's working out, going through our system as we speak. But KC is going to be a very good addition to our secondary. The next young man that I want to introduce is Bear Davenport. What a great name, right? From Chickasaw, Alabama, defensive end body. He's got potential that might be maybe higher than any kid we've ever signed. I mean, when you look at his statistics and just the way he stacks up with recruiting rankings and some different things, at this time you'll be able to see some highlights of Bear Davenport.
Bear Davenport is an exciting young man, one that we're very pumped to bring into our program. One of the higher recruited kids we've ever signed here. Had some mid-major stuff, some Power 5 stuff early on in the process. You can see that he's a physical kid, one that's going to stand up, loves contact. From a small school in Alabama, we slot him into our bandit defensive end position. He's a young guy that should be able to solidify that spot for years to come. Very similar traits to Nathan Grant, that's on our program already, but just an exciting kid, unbelievable student, that has a high GPA, high test scores, and that's why he was heavily recruited. So we're excited to get Bear in our program, and he's going to make us better instantly when he gets here.
Bear is the highest rated recruit we've ever signed here. Based on 24/7, he's a 3-star recruit, a top 35 defensive end in the country. Just a young man that, as I mentioned before, is a Nathan Grant type body. Played both sides of the ball, never came off the field in high school. Was a first-team All-State player in the state of Alabama, which is impressive in itself. Bear's a young man that's going to put us with more length on our defensive front. He's going to add a pass-rushing element that maybe we haven't been able to get the last couple classes. We feel very confident in what Bear's going to bring to the table. Obviously very excited about the next young man because of the position, quarterback, Tyler G. from Cabot, Arkansas. He's an unbelievable young man, holds all the intangibles you're looking for from the position, not to mention he's from right down the road in Cabot, Arkansas, which makes it even better. You'll see some highlights on Tyler G.
Tyler G is our quarterback signee for this class. Very excited about Tyler. I mean, just a very solid quarterback with great fundamentals, was well coached by Coach Reed there at Cabot High School. Again, has the ability to maneuver in the pocket, has very good escapability, as you can see, but has an extremely strong arm. We had him in camp as a sophomore, offered him out of camp. Think he's got a chance to come in and be that young quarterback that competes for a job. You know, whoever's going to take the next role after Braylon Smith, we think Tyler has an opportunity to do that. But again, very smart, football savvy kid with extreme knowledge of the game, and again has all the intangibles you're looking for from the position of quarterback, and it's going to make us better as a team, especially as the years go on.
What showed us maybe more than anything on Tyler G was the way that he responded in recruiting when he had committed to us early. He was by far our best recruiter. Our coaches did a great job, but Tyler G would get on Twitter and get on Facebook and get on text messages with kids we wanted to recruit, and really sell what we had to offer here as a UCA Bear. That showed me that he has the leadership and intangibles you're looking for, not to mention the physical skills. I think he's got a quick release. We had him in camp as a sophomore, as I mentioned before. Just a phenomenal physical talent, very productive in high school. Very well tutored, as I mentioned, by Coach Reed there from Cabot High School. So I think the sky's the limit. I think he has an opportunity, as I mentioned, to maybe be the next guy after Braylon Smith to compete for that job, and really has a chance to be the future of our program as we move forward. The next guy I want to introduce is Jake Golday. Jake Golday is a defensive end bandit position for us. One of the higher recruited kids from the Arlington, Tennessee area that we've ever been a part of in Memphis. Probably held as many offers as any kid I've ever recruited. Just had so many options. Anything from the military academies to mid-majors to the FCS level. Teams liked him on both sides of the ball. So you'll get a chance to see him right now on a highlight of Jake Golday.
Jake Golday is a kid we're going to slot in similar to Bear Davenport's position. He'll play that bandit defensive end. Again, another kid that played several positions throughout his career. He played outside linebacker, middle linebacker, played tight end on offense. Just an extremely athletic kid. Very heavily recruited by all FCS level schools around the South. But a kid that's going to grow into a very athletic, long young man that's going to have a chance to put our defense at another level. Again, you can see his explosiveness, his ability to get to the football and make the play. So he's a kid that has extreme athletic talent on the basketball court, and you can see it on the football field, multi-sport athlete. So we're excited about what Jake brings to the table.
When you hear the word excitement, I think of Jake Golday. That kid just puts a smile on my face because he's the type of body that we can mold and create into an unbelievable, to me, all-conference, all-American type body at the position of defensive end or outside linebacker for us. Very long, very athletic. You should see the kid play on the basketball court. I mean, he can dunk it in every single way you want him to. Unbelievable family. Again, another great student in this class, and a kid that really Coach Kitchens and our new defensive staff, new defensive scheme is going to have fun with, because he can slot in several different positions. Also was a recruited tight end. We would have took him as a tight end if he wasn't such a good defensive player. So Jake Golday's got a bright future ahead of us. The next young man is already enrolled in Conway, similar to Tyler G. and Kamari Clark. Darius Hell, running back from Pearland, Texas. You'll see what amazing size and physicality this kid has. He's already impressed in his short amount of time here in Conway. Here's some highlights.
Darius Hell has already went through workouts. He's conditioning with us, going through spring ball, so he's an early enrollee, early high school graduate, so excited to have him already in Conway. You can see a big physical kid. He's 215, 220 pounds, somewhere in that range, big, strong athlete, very heavily recruited kid, especially early on. We were fortunate to be on him early and stay on him and got him in the end. But you can see, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but again, with his size, that makes up for it. He's going to make us instantly better, going to add depth to that room and physicality to that room like we need, especially as we continue to push this thing forward.
Coming out of Darius's junior year, he had offers from Baylor, Houston, several other mid-majors. Again, you could see his physical size on those couple of clips. Very, very developed lower body. I mean, when you think of Carlos Blackman type body, that's what Darius looks like. Again, like I mentioned, he is already enrolled, so he is learning our system. He is going through our off-season program. He's in the weight room with Coach Fodio every single day. So Darius is going to have an edge. He's going to get ahead of the game. Very excited about him. With that being said, the second running back in this class is a young man named Colin James. Colin James is from Dumas, Arkansas. When I say I'm excited about a young man, his name is Colin James. This kid is going to have a bright future here. Here are some highlights.
Colin James is another physical, big running back, 6 foot, 215-pound player out of Dumas, Arkansas. It's very similar to Carlos Blackman, similar size ball here in the state of Arkansas. Ultra productive. I mean, he rushed for led the state of Arkansas with 2,400 rushing yards this year. You can see his size, just a great lower body, a great frame for Coach Fodio to continue to grow. Makes us physically better right away. Played linebacker for them as well. You can see him being a special player on special teams, does a lot of things well. He's a letterman in track, baseball, basketball, really does it all at the school there in Dumas. So his best football is ahead of him. He's one that we can't wait to get on campus and really mold him to who we want him to be.
Production. Colin James, like I mentioned before, over 2,400 yards rushing, 3,500 plus yards, 3,600 plus yards in his career. Scored a ton of touchdowns, led the state in rushing touchdowns and rushing. So when you're looking for a young back, I mean, he's 6 foot, 215 pounds. Again, similar to Darius, very well developed at this young of age. Again, another in-state guy that we feel like we've got to steal in. I mean, he's a kid that I think was heavily under-recruited. Now, he had options, but to me, there's no question Colin James is an FBS talented running back. So, again, a phenomenal student. I think he's a tick away, a B away from having a 4.0 in his high school career. Just a super bright young man, sweet family. Can't wait to get Colin James up here from Dumas, Arkansas. Another in-state product on the defensive side of the ball now from Robertson High School is James Jordan. Production, again, is coming with this kid. 3 defensive touchdowns, as you'll see a couple of them here on these highlights.
James Jordan played safety in high school, and that's what we see him as here at UCA. Also can play our nickel position, a rolled down safety position. Just one of the more productive defensive players in the state of Arkansas over the past 2 years, playing at Robinson High School there in Little Rock. Had 3 touchdowns on the defensive side of the ball this year, as you can see one there. Just unbelievable production, and that's what you're looking for from this position. Has great talent. Also was one of the better wide receivers, so he's got great ball skills. But again, you see his ability to have speed, his ability to make plays with the ball in the air, and I think he's a great tackler. So I'm excited to bring James into our defense and see what he can do at adding an element and an edge to that side of the ball.
Robinson High School in Little Rock has been so good to us. Current players, Sanderson Hines, our offensive guard, Trenton Dunn, linebacker. We've had unbelievable success from Coach Escola and his staff at Robinson High School. James Jordan's going to be the next in line with that group. You saw his talent, his speed. He has a knack for the football. I mean, 70-plus tackles this year on defense, 4 interceptions, 3 defensive touchdowns. Had, I think, over 1,000 yards receiving. Was one of their top receivers as well. So when you talk about a kid that can do it all, James is a kid that's going to come in and be productive right away. We see him playing safety or maybe slotting him in what we're going to call our star position, which is that roll-down safety position that plays that outside linebacker. We're excited about James and what he's going to bring to the table. He should bring a great edge to our program. When I talk about edge, I talk about this young man, Brett Lynch from Cedar Hill, Texas. Another safety signee for us. Here's some highlights of Brett.
Brett Lynch is another kid that we're going to slot in at safety on the defensive side of the ball. Comes from a great program in Cedar Hill High School. We've had athletes from there in the past. They've always been very competitive, very smart, good football players, very well coached. But you can see he tracks the football. Not the biggest kid in the world, but at safety you don't have to have great length and size. What he does, he makes up for it in physicality. Very physical, knows around the football, understands the game. Very bright-eyed kid that understands angles, understands how to play the position of safety. We needed a good young safety to come in here and compete right away, and I think Brett Lynch can be that guy.
To me, maybe the best pound-for-pound football player we signed in this class is Brett Lynch. He's not the biggest in stature. We've got a lot of length in this class, but again, Brett's not going to be the length guy. Don't need again, length is not imperative necessarily in the position we're going to put him at in that safety position to the boundary or maybe even that star position. He's just a football player. He's got a knack for the ball. You saw the way he tracks to tackle offensive players. Comes from a system at Cedar Hill High School. They're in the quarterfinals, semifinals at some of the highest classifications in Texas high school football every single year. So he's been very well coached. He understands what winning is about. We need a kid like Brett Lynch in our program. He's going to make us better. Another 50-50 ball receiver in this class is Jaylen Moore. Jaylen Moore is a young man that's got very strong hands, as you're going to see in this highlight that is coming up here shortly.
Jaylen Moore is a big receiver, physical presence about him. Again, you can see his size. He is similar body type to Tyler Hudson, Tobias Imlo, Lawan Winningham. You know, we've had a great run of receivers. I think he's a 50-50 ball catcher, as you can see right there. Similar to what our guys that you see on every Saturday do right now. He has a great ability with the ball in his hands. Again, extremely strong hands when you watch his highlights. He's a guy that scores touchdowns and is very productive when the ball is thrown his direction. Again, a great young, talented receiver that we're able to bring in as a playmaker and hopefully come in and add depth to that room.
Jaylen has the build and the frame and the catch radius that you look for to be a special talent here at UCA. We've made a knack for recruiting unbelievable receivers with unbelievable talent that can really get down the field. I think Jaylen's really special with the ball in his hands, very productive throughout his career. But again, you can see it just has a catch radius and understands how to adjust to the football in the air. Should come in and add immediate depth, similar to Miles Butler, who we mentioned earlier. Same body types, big, strong, physical kids. Not kids that you necessarily have to bring in and develop. Now, we're going to hone them in and get them better and stronger and all those things, but they physically look the part already, something that gets us excited about now. The next player that I want to talk about is another wide receiver, maybe from a different spectrum. A little bit more of a speed guy, slot guy. Cam Robertson from Whitehall, Arkansas. Here's some highlights.
Cam Robertson out of Whitehall, Arkansas. What a great athlete. Again, plays wide receiver, was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year at his level of football at Whitehall in the state of Arkansas. Adds an element of speed to our wide receiver room, has great ability with the ball in his hands. Unbelievable special teams player as a returner, punt returner, and kick returner. Again, Coach Howard wanted to add a receiver with this type of dynamic in this class, and we think Cam Robinson can be that guy. Again, great when the ball's in the air, but also great catching screens and running with the ball after the catch. So Cam's going to add that element to us that maybe we don't have in our room right now, and we're excited to see what he can bring to the table when he gets here in Conway.
Coach Howard's really going to have fun with some of these wide receivers, especially a guy like Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson is going to help us in the return game, had several punt return and kick return touchdowns as well this year. But again, right down the road in Whitehall, Arkansas. Unbelievable speed, very, very fast kid. Also an unbelievable baseball player, so a two-sport athlete, all-state, all-region baseball player. Very sweet family, very engaged, very excited about him coming right down the road to Conway, Arkansas. He's going to add an element that maybe you haven't seen here in the last couple of years. He's almost 6 foot tall, 5'11" range, but he's got Gerard Barnes type ability. I feel like I think you can put the ball in his hands. He's going to be a playmaker. He's going to be a kid that's going to be here for a long time and make us a better team. The next guy I want to talk about is a big man. He's a young man that's on the offensive line, offensive tackle for us from Pillow Academy in Greenwood, Mississippi. Fraser Rose. Fraser Rose, again, has unbelievable ability, talent, size, athleticism for his length and size. Here's some highlights of Fraser.
Fraser Rose is a young man we're going to slot in at offensive tackle. You can see his size is impressive. We have to continue to get bigger on the offensive line if we want to continue to make this push through the FCS playoffs and when it matters. So he's 6'6", around 300 pounds. He's a basketball player. You can see his athleticism at that size is impressive. Gets downfield to the second and third level and is able to make plays on more athletic bodies. But he's a kid we can build around. He could be the blindside protector of our quarterbacks for years to come, and that's what we're excited about and looking forward to getting Fraser on campus so we can start developing him in the weight room and as well on the field.
I've talked about it over and over again since I've been the head coach here. We have to continue to recruit size, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. Fraser Rose is the definition of size. Again, 6'6" range, probably a plus 6'6" plus. Right around 300 pounds right now, is a Letterman starting basketball player for his high school. Again, that just helps his athleticism. You see him get to the second and third level, like I mentioned before, and make blocks on more athletic bodies. That tells you how much of an athlete he can be. I think his best football's ahead of him. I can't wait to get him here, get him in our weight room system, in our off-season program. Again, he's a kid that we can build around moving forward as we continue to push through to this A-Sun level and play big-time football. The next young man that I want to introduce is probably the most productive young man in recent years in the state of Arkansas. A young man named Hayden Schrader, wide receiver from Bryant, Arkansas. Here's some highlights.
Hayden Schrader from Bryant, Arkansas is a wide receiver tight end, signing in our class. One of the most productive kids we've signed here in recent history. He's got a body type at 6'3", 210 pounds that can really play at multiple positions on offense. He's the guy you want on the field that you're throwing to or blocking when the game's on the line. Again, a kid with unbelievable production, 70-plus catches this year, close to 1,500 yards. Number one in the state of Arkansas, I think number 7 in the nation. Also had 20 touchdowns. So when you talk about production, you should put Hayden's name in that sentence. So just a guy that's going to come in and physically ready to compete. Again, not the most fast guy, but a very physical receiver that has great 50-50 ball catching ability like a lot of our receivers do, and excited to see where we can slot him in the future.
That ought to get you excited right there. Hayden Schrader is a phenomenal athlete. Again, a tweener-type body, 6'3", 210-pound frame. A kid that we're going to slot in as a receiver right now, could develop into a tight end body. But goodness, I mean, production. You're talking about over 1,400 yards receiving this year as a senior, 20 touchdowns. I mean, there's some kids that some teams that don't score 20 touchdowns in a year. 3-time state champion. He's from a tradition-rich program in Bryant. Again, it didn't take long to talk to other coaches from other schools, and his name came up constantly. When you're talking about finding the best players in the state, talking about finding the best players in their program, Hayden Schrader is that guy. As a matter of fact, Coach Collins was able to see him in person twice because Coach Collins' son plays for Conway High School, so they played Bryant twice. It's kind of a running joke. His nickname by Conway was Thor, so that should tell you something about this kid. I mean, he's got a phenomenal upside. Can't wait to get him on campus. Can't wait to work with him. Next guy, speed. Again, we talked about speed. We talked about size. This young man has speed. Again, another kid that is going to be a wide receiver, Christian Scott from Florida. Here's his highlights.
Christian Scott is a slot wide receiver in this class. Very excited about Christian and what he brings to the table. Similar to Cam Robertson, very good with the football in his hands. Adds speed to that room immediately. Also can add a talent to our special teams units, on all units as far as that's concerned. But again, you can see his ability to take off and run. His best football is ahead of him. Again, a young player, young for his class, a kid that has been coached well, but also has very, very raw talent that we can work with, and I think is going to be great once he gets here to campus and we get to teach him the ins and outs of the receiver position. Looking forward to getting him on campus as soon as possible.
We love recruiting the state of Florida. Again, getting into Lakeland, Florida, signing a kid like Christian Scott, winning a recruiting battle with some other schools at our level was a big deal. This kid, he's fast. He runs hard. He can catch screens. He can catch deep balls, has great ball skills. Similar to, like I mentioned before, Cam Robinson, he'll help us in the return game as well. Again, another kid that, Coach Howard hit the jackpot this year. He's able to work with some of these guys and get them in our system and really have some playmakers that we can mold and put them in position to make us better as a program. Christian's an unbelievable talent. I really do believe his upside is as high as anybody in this class. I cannot wait to get him to Conway, Arkansas. Another tight end. Again, we've got an upperclassman group of tight ends coming back and left us that we were able to sign in this class. Maybe the most athletic tight end we've signed here in recent history. This is Montrell Smith from Carthage High School in Texas. Here's his highlights.
Montrell Smith is another tight end signee for us this year. What you'll see in Montrell is more of a pass-catching tight end. He's 6'4", around 215, 220 pounds. He adds an element to that room that maybe we haven't had in recent years. Again, has great ability of catching the ball. He's one of the more athletic players on the field at Carthage High School. 3-time state champion there at Carthage, so he knows how to win. He knows what winning culture looks like. He's a good enough blocker that he's going to add that element to us as well, but you can see him with the ball in his hands. He's a great basketball player on the basketball court, so he's got great athletic ability. But what excites me about him is just his ability to not only catch the ball, but also block in line, just like a lot of these tight ends we've signed in this class. Looking forward to getting Montrell on campus.
I continue to talk about prospects and student athletes from unbelievable programs. There's not a more tradition-rich program in the state of Texas than Carthage High School. Montrell's been a part of several state championships. He understands what it's like to play into late December every single year, not to mention his athletic ability. Unbelievable basketball player on the basketball court. That shows his athleticism. But his ability to catch the ball from the tight end position, his body type, he's 6'4", 225, 230 pounds right now. He's a kid that by the time he's done here in a couple of years, probably be a 240, 245 pound kid with what we feel like is probably around 4.5, 4.6 speed. So again, adds an element and a dynamic that we haven't had at the position of tight end. Should give us an more athletic ability in that room. Can't thank Coach Hollingsworth enough for recruiting this kid. Did a great job. Won a recruiting battle. We've been on this kid for a long time, and he had a lot of stuff going on. And he trusted us, and he trusted Coach Hollingsworth, Coach Collins, and Coach Gunnell, and the job that they did recruiting him. And excited about Montrell. Again, talk about speed. The next young man is a cornerback that just exudes speed. Has a 10.4 100-meter dash from the Mansfield area. Here is Sean Smith's highlights.
Sean Smith is our freshman corner signee. Again, speed. You need speed in the defensive backfield, and Sean is that guy. You can see with his running ability and ability to attack the football, similar to this clip right here, he's going to make us faster. He's a long corner. He's going to measure around 6 feet tall. So that's great to have at a young corner position, to be length, but also have the size and ability. Is a great returner. Again, you hear that's kind of a common theme with a lot of these guys, but he does a lot of things well, and he's going to make us better. A very heavily recruited kid, had FBS offers early, and we're excited to have the chance to get Sean in the end and really make him who we think can be a great young corner for us moving forward.
We have a great young core of defensive backs that we've recruited in recent years. Sean's going to add to that mix. He's a longer corner. He's going to measure in around 6 foot tall, like I mentioned before. Again, a kid that's going to add speed to that corner room. Also can return. Again, you saw that. It's every skill kid that we've signed this year, you see scoring punt returner, kick return touchdowns, and Sean's no different. Just an infectious smile, just an unbelievable kid, unbelievable family from the Mansfield area there in Dallas area. So again, another great recruiting job by our defensive staff and Coach Collins getting this young man. He had a ton of offers, had a ton of options, decided to choose us and come up to Arkansas and play ASUN football, and that's what we're really excited about. We think Sean can take us over the top. We think he can be the next Trey Smith, Robert Rochelle type body because of his athletic ability. I can't wait to get him up here in our program and get him to the potential we know he can be. The linebacker in this class that we signed as a high school kid is Devin Steen from Red Oak, Texas. Here are his highlights.
Devin Steen is our linebacker signee this year. He's going to come in and be a very athletic player. He's going to add athleticism to the linebacker room, can really run side to side, but with his ability to run, he's also physical at the point of attack, as you can see. He's going to come with violent manners, and that's what's exciting about him playing that position. A very heavily recruited kid within the Southland Conference and at the FCS level. Just an extremely physical kid with a bright future, good student, going to make us better instantly at that position and more athletic at that position right away.
This was the first young man in Devon that Coach Kitchens, when we hired him as our defensive coordinator in December, called. We put his film on, and Coach Kitchens had to get him on the phone. Devin, we won a recruiting battle with Sam Houston State over Devin. Devin was actually committed throughout the fall to Sam Houston State. We were fortunate enough to flip him. I think he's going to have a bright future here. Athletically, like I mentioned before, is really adding to our room, which we feel like we're very strong at the middle linebacker position. Again, he brings an edge to him. You see him run side to side there earlier. You see him get there. He's very, very violent, and that's what you need from a linebacker. And look, he's a kid that we're going to be able to mold. He's a kid that's going to be a phenomenal player and has a chance to be, to me, all conference talent when it's all said and done. So I can't wait to get Devin up here. The last one I want to introduce in the 21st signee in this signing class today, definitely last but not least, and when I talk about big and body type, this is an NFL tight end body in Will Tindall. Here's some highlights of Will Tindall.
Will Tindall is another tight end signee for us in this class. If I could mold a tight end body, it would be Will Tindall. 6'5", 230-pound frame, has the ability to catch the ball from the tight end position, but also is a great inline blocker. Was a heavily recruited kid because of his size and athletic ability. And when you add that combination, it's hard to find. So everybody wants tight ends with that body type. When you look at the NFL and what they're playing with, Will Tindall has that same body type. So we're excited to get Will here on campus, another Mississippi high school product that's going to make us better and add depth to that position as our older guys graduate and move on. So big future for Will and being part of this program.
Bear fans, wait till you see this kid on the hoof. Just like I said before, unbelievable body, NFL-type body. Will was a heavily recruited kid. Matter of fact, within the last week, got an Arkansas State offer, and just a lot of people want that body type. It's hard to find. I mean, when you're talking about the position of tight end that has the athletic ability he does, it's tough to find. You know, Coach Polk, our outside linebackers coach, is from Brandon, Mississippi. Coach Boykin coached at Brandon High School. He's a Brandon, Mississippi kid, so we had a lot of inside connections there with their coaching staff and his family, which ultimately probably helped us win his recruiting battle. But Will's going to have a bright future. He's a kid that can come in and immediately add depth to that room with Jack Short, Sam Camargo, guys like Austin Eldridge, and really just with this young crop of tight ends be special for us. That's our class. And I wish you could be here to see my excitement and just the amount of time and effort it took to put this class together. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do have a couple spots still available, and whether that could be high school kids eventually maybe signing late, or the way the transfer world is right now, possibly bringing in a transfer or two when it's all said and done. But I'm very excited about our young men that are here on campus right now and going through our off-season program. They're working extremely hard. When you add these guys, these 21 guys that we mentioned today, I just think that our future, especially as we push toward this ASUN conference, is going to be very bright. It's going to be a new challenge. It's going to be something that will be new to us as a program, but it's one we're excited and ready to attack. Every single young man that I talk to and their families during this recruiting process are very, very excited about our athletic department, our university, and this movement to the ASUN. And this class met a lot of needs. And you know, with the way this year kind of rounded up and the fall schedule we had, it was an interesting year recruiting, to say the least. But as I mentioned before, all the people I thanked, it couldn't have been done without their help, and getting to this point is such an achievement and such an exciting time for us as a coaching staff, because there was a lot of time and effort put into this. So these young guys, you need to circle them. There's going to be a lot of all-conference, some All-Americans in this group. I think there could be some record breakers. I think there could be some guys that are being trailblazers in this program. This is going to be a fun group. This is already a group that loves each other. You can see it in their group text and the way they interact on their social media. So that gets me excited as a head coach, because it's much more than just football, and these kids recognize that. So very, very excited about that. At this time, I would love to answer any questions. I know you guys have been typing in some questions. You know, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Look forward to seeing what you guys have to ask at this time.
I have a question from Paul Cantrell. Did joining the ASUN conference affect recruiting this year?
Yeah, great question, and I think that's a question that has been asked and maybe thought by a lot of people, and I think it was nothing but positive. When you're talking about the newness and the freshness of the ASUN, kind of being what we would call trailblazers as the inaugural football playing members of this conference, it's exciting. I mean, it's an exciting time not only to be at the University of Central Arkansas, but it's an exciting time to be in the ASUN conference. And again, like I said before, we recruited these young men and their family toward the ASUN. Southland was not in our conversation with these families. They understood the recruiting footprint, the footprint that our schedule is going to be for basically the duration of their career, and they're excited about that. Not to mention that our current players have had nothing but positive response and remarks about it too. So I think it definitely had an effect, but I think it would be nothing but positive when you talk about that.
From Mitchell Gladstone at the Democrat Gazette, how did COVID-19 impact your recruiting in terms of geography, and did it lead you to bringing in more guys from within Arkansas?
Yeah, obviously I can't say COVID did not affect recruiting. It did. I mean, it totally changed and flipped our world upside down. Again, the month of December after you get done playing, and really the month of January leading up to today, early, the first Wednesday of February, we would be on the road, 5-6 days a week, and then we would be back in Conway on the weekends hosting official visits and families and doing all those things. So geographically, I think, pushing to the ASUN conference and really recruiting toward that, we've already been pushing southeast. I think we were able to touch more kids because we were virtually recruiting. Again, when you're talking about budgeting and all those things that it comes in, plane flights and gas and official visit cost and getting them here and there and to and from coaches and obviously prospects and their families. I think we were able to touch so many more kids and maybe even help our non-scholarship totals as well, because we were able to get those kids in and do our virtual visits and how we conducted them. So it definitely affected us, but I think we handled it. Again, like I mentioned, Coach Gunnar Boykin did a phenomenal job organizing a plan, and then we executed that plan. We were very organized through the process. I think families appreciated that, whether it was through our highlight videos or whether it was through virtual tours, because look, our biggest selling point is getting families on campus, and so we were unable to do that during this recruiting cycle. I mean, when you come on the campus of the University of Central Arkansas, it doesn't take 5 minutes to understand how special this place is, and that's not even seeing the athletic facilities. So we lost that element of recruiting, so we had to make up for it in creativity, with videos and just chats with families and doing that aspect. So I think we handled it to about as good as you possibly can. I know we had nothing but positive remarks from prospects and their families.
From Andy Robertson at the Log Cabin Democrat, Do you see any student athletes from this class making an immediate impact on the field?
Yeah, well, that's always to be determined. I think on paper, again, this sounds like a broken record, but I feel like on paper this could be one of our better signing classes. Again, I think it's going to rank possibly as a top 8-6 range FCS recruiting class, and that's with Ivy Leagues in there, and we know they're able to get a little bit different caliber athlete. So I think on paper we're going to look the part. You look up and down the roster at needs and just who may come in and play right away. You look at a guy like Sean Smith at defensive back. I mean, that's a position that you can come in and play immediately. I would think that a couple of those wide receivers would have a chance to come in and play early. A guy like Miles Butler come in and add immediate depth there, or even a Jaylen Moore, come in and compete for maybe get those spots behind LaJuan Winningham and Tyler Hudson. So those are spots that I see. Also, those two defensive ends I think can have an impact pretty quickly. Bear Davenport and Jake Golday, they're just cut different. I mean, we haven't recruited too many guys that look like them. I mean, both of them are 6'4" plus. That 225, 230 range, very long and lean and can really get around the edge. So, there's always one or two guys that surprise you that you may not think are going to be an impact guy right away, and they do. And so, that's just to name a few names. Even a guy like James Jordan from Robertson High School. I mean, that's a need position at that star position, safety position. He could come in and be a guy right away. So, I probably left some guys out, but I see several of these guys coming in and competing and adding immediate depth.
From Marvin Eady, who is the fastest skill player that was signed in this class?
Well, on paper, it's Sean Smith at the corner from Mansfield. He's a verified 10.4 100-meter. We probably don't say that too loud because our track team might want him. He can fly and he can really roll. A guy, Christian Scott, again, he's a kid, the Lakeland, Florida wide receiver. He can really run. He's under 11 in the 100 in track. Cam Robinson from Whitehall, he's got phenomenal speed. Again, in the skill positions, we're going to recruit speed. And that's an emphasis of ours. When you talk about trenches and offensive defensive line getting size, we have to get speed in the wide receiver and defensive back rooms, and I think we did do that in this class.
From Bill Johnson, how many seniors opted to remain in the program for another year?
Well, that's a great question. Right now we've got 7 that are committed to coming back. So that added to our the numbers game. And as a head coach, that was kind of the chess match that I'm continuing to have to play. I mean, we're not sitting here under an unlimited budget or anything of that matter. So we did have young men coming back, so you have to factor those guys into your numbers. But again, what a blessing to get guys like a Javius Brown back, J.W. Jones back, Jack Short back, Sam Camargo back. Let me continue to think here. Nathan Grant back. Just unbelievable. Toby Sanderson, starting center, 2-time All-Conference player back. So getting guys to come back was definitely something we were excited about. It maybe trimmed down on our signing class a little bit, that maybe we would have tried to find a center if Toby wasn't able to come back. But again, we're excited about that because those are key all-conference type players, even a couple of All-American type players that are coming back and really going to add to our program and continue to add leadership, experience and all those things as we make this transition into the ASUN.
Another from Marvin Eady, was there a signee that almost got away?
Well, I like to think they all almost got away. At least we're going to treat them that way. You look at a guy like Will Tindall, Arkansas State came in and offered him late. Anytime an FBS program comes in and offers a young man late, you get nervous about that. We won a recruiting battle for Devin Steen, the linebacker from Red Oak with Sam Houston State. A guy like Miles Butler, I mean, he turned down scholarship offers from Indiana, South Alabama, and Troy to come here to play wide receiver. So there's always those guys that are right there on the edge that you get nervous about until those papers come across the facts. But we do a great job of developing relationships. I think that's key in this process. Our coaching staff gets to know the young man. They get to know the family. They're invested in them, and I think those players realize that, and it's harder for them to maybe make that rash decision if someone offers them late.
With the change to the ASUN, what is your anticipated new pipeline state or states for recruiting?
Well, like I said, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've really shifted more southeast. Again, we're going to continue to recruit Texas. Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, and really East Texas has been way too good to us over the years not to continue to recruit those areas. We've got unbelievable pipelines and resources in those areas. We've got our brand in Houston and Dallas. Fort Worth is really, really high and really, really solid. People know who we are. They know what kind of football we play. They know what we do. But I could see us pushing more into Alabama and Georgia. And we've already kind of dabbled in Florida a lot over the last few years. But the state of Georgia is maybe an area we haven't tapped into a whole lot. We signed 2 kids from Alabama this year, 2 great ones in my opinion, in Miles Butler and Bear Davenport. To me, those are 2 FBS talented players. So I could see us, being able to recruit the state of Alabama, maybe that being a pipeline as Mississippi has been for us in recent years, but even getting into Georgia, maybe some more as well. Thanks today again. Thanks for the questions. First of all, wow. I mean, just unbelievable to announce these young men. Unbelievable job by our athletic department in this production to share with you guys. Just so proud as an alum and as your football coach to represent the logo, to represent Conway, Arkansas, and represent the state of Arkansas when we recruit these young men from, I think, 6 different states and do what we did. So I want to thank First Security again for sponsoring this event. Again, unorthodox, not like it normally is, but so blessed to be able to get into whether it's on your phone, tablet, or computer and tell you a little bit about what we've been doing over the last couple months. We're looking forward to spring ball. Our kids are working hard. Again, like our athletic department is on full go right now with all of our sports going. I think football may be the only one right now not competing. So it's a busy time here on campus. So continue to support our guys and girls as they're going through this process, and we're just enjoying the ride. So we're excited about spring ball. We're excited about the 2021 season. We're excited about the ASUN and the movement for there. Again, thank you to First Security. Looking forward to seeing all y'all's faces soon. Bear claws up.